Greetings, everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here on day 22 of my 31 favorite rock albums from 1982. This is band number 10. Yes, we're already up to 10. And actually, it's artist number 10 again. So yesterday we had an artist. Today we have another rock artist. From one of my favorite bands, the vocalist from one of my favorite bands. This album is probably my favorite of the albums that he's released. It's got a little bit more bite than most of his music, I think. So we're talking about Jon Anderson, of course, and the album Animation, which came out in 1982, obviously. So what did I like about this? Well, I have the other album that came out the year before, Song of Seven, I believe it was, or maybe it was the year after. Either it was the year before or it was the year after. And my friend got Animation, and he taped his and I taped mine, so we both had both albums. And I did like Song of Seven quite a bit, but I just think this album has more bite to it. It's a bit of a heavier album, I guess, if you want to call it Jon Anderson album, a heavy album. I especially like the song Olympia. I think it's probably one of his best tracks. Pretty heavy. I love the drum part on it. I think it's really catchy. And of course, Jon Anderson's voice, which was fantastic and still is fantastic. And we just recently did a What's New video on one of his new albums. I think this one is probably still his best, I think, overall. And back in those days, I wasn't so critical about the Anderson-like sound that people like to put it on. So some of the Yes songs have that kind of solo Anderson sound to them. So you get the vocals, which are great, but the music is kind of a little bit Limp Bizkit compared to the bitiness of most of the Yes stuff. But this album is a little bit different. It's a little bit heavier. It's got some really interesting songs on it that are lyrically good, which not always the case with Jon, and vocally sound, and you've got a little bit of a heavier bite to the album on the whole. The reason I put it ahead of both the Rush and the Mike Rutherford albums is just I think the overall content of the album is, I think, a little bit stronger than either of those two albums at this date and time. Back then, it wouldn't even have been a discussion. The Rush album would have beat both of them fairly easily. But now it's really tight. This album hasn't fallen nearly as far down as either the Mike Rutherford or the Rush album. So that's part of the reason why it's up here a little bit more. And it may be the fact that I haven't listened to it as much as I have in the past. And I still have good, fond memories of it, and I still like hearing some of those tunes off of it. But overall, I think it's just, if it wins here, it's just basically a numbers game for these. This week is going to be more like that than any of the other weeks, where there's just so little separating these albums. It's really could just easily flip it around. But for today, because you have to put one in a spot, I put this one here in the 10th spot. And I think it's a good, solid album. If I had to choose, if I can only choose one Jon Anderson album to own, this would be the one I would choose. So there you have it. I hope you've liked this episode of my 31 favorite rock albums from the year 1982. If you have, please hit the like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. And if you have any comments about the album or the whole 31 rock albums from 1982, or if you got anything that's related to it you want to put in the comment section, you can do that below. And we will be back again tomorrow with another one. So I hope to see you then. Take care and have yourself a good evening. Goodbye.